exactly is psychology?
Forensic psychology means we understand the criminal's mind. Not only that, we understand the victim's mind. That why is somebody a victim? ना इसमें sportsman spirit बहुत अच्छी है, but वो कैसे आई? It comes with a lot of failure, acceptance of failure, and then trusting yourself again. That's sports psychology. Because military jobs are very difficult. As easy and fascinating it sounds like, it is not, trust me.
So what exactly in real world clinical psychology means? My question to you is, what kind of students are best suited for this particular stream called psychology? And what kind of skills or let's say qualities, personality traits we can add there as well, help someone to succeed in this field?
A lot of parents come and say कि मेरी बेटी मेरा बेटा साइकोलॉजी पढ़ के पागलों का इलाज तो नहीं करेगा क्या? बट एक ऑनेस्ट चीज है that yes, there is a part that you may have to deal with abnormal individuals or abnormal people with abnormal behavior. Okay, अभी उसको आप आपके लैंग्वेज में पागल बोलो या कुछ बोलो, पागल is literally a rude thing.
It's a very harsh
thing to say, because psychology understands that why somebody is having an abnormal behavior. So we don't use the term pagal. I am sure any psychologist or any psychiatrist or clinician in India, mental health workers, will never use the word pagal. It's people with abnormalities or people with abnormal behavior. So yes, that's the fact that you will have to deal with it, because as I mentioned previously, you will not understand normal people if you won't study abnormal people, or if you'll not understand abnormal people, you will not study normal people. It goes hand in hand. If they सिक्क्याचे दोन साइड आहेत, दो पहलू या तो दोनों समझना बहुत important है. It's very important for us to understand both the sides. It can't be like 5 rupee का coin देके मैं सिर्फ 5 ही देखूं और पीछे का ना देखूं. अगर पीछे का नहीं देखेंगे तो maybe the coin will be fake.
So your perspective would not be complete unless you deal with these particular scenarios.
Yes.
Okay.
But having said that, students or teenagers or adults who are a little weak-hearted or may fear a lot with certain things, I don't think so it's a right option for them to study psychology. Because in psychology, while you are studying psychology, you'll come up with a lot of examples, with a lot of disorders, and that might trigger your mental health. Yeah. So a lot of students come to me, like I teach criminal psychology. So we discuss a lot of cases, and there are murder cases, sexual harassment cases, childhood abuse cases, and students are like, ma'am, I'm going out of the class, it triggers me. Okay. So the point is that I completely understand that might trigger them, but if you will not cross that thing, how are you going to help your patient? If your patient comes to you and say that, I've been abused by my uncle, and unfortunately, if you have gone through the same, will you cry in front of your patient?
That will be a part of your profession.
Yeah.
So you're saying that any student who is getting triggered with all these situations would not be the right suited person for.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Because psychology requires a lot of mental efforts to study and understand a lot of things. It does happen with practice. Okay, it's not like you just study few subjects and you are good to go with it. Okay, you have to develop and cultivate that behavior, that adaptive thinking patterns, and that happens. But you need to be ready to do that. Okay, if you're not ready to do that and you just want to be like, again, in psychology, I've learned it from my professors. Two things: either you want to be a clerk or you want to be an artist, because psychology can only be studied and practiced when you have an artistic mind or artistic approach towards understanding the subject. If you're doing clerically, like just mugging up things or just mugging up some equations or just mugging up some theories, then you will not be able to deliver the justice, because we are dealing with human beings. Psychology deals with human beings, and now there's something known as animal cognition also. You deal with animals as well. You understand their behavior also, but that's a very separate this thing. I'm not getting in that right now. But if you are empathetic, you are understanding that thing, then and then only you will be able to be a successful psychologist. Otherwise, you will just sit and do some test. You will do some tick marks, and that's not how psychologist works. So I think you need to have a good clarity. If you are thinking that, and psychology takes a lot of efforts in terms of giving your ears to it, okay. You will say ki I'll be a graduate in psychology, I'll be a postgraduate in psychology, I'll be a PhD in psychology, and then I'm going to earn millions. It doesn't happen like that. You have to have a lot of practice, you have to understand the field, you have to make your mark, and then name, fame will follow you, money will follow you. So yes, I'm just giving a real picture.
Absolutely, that's what we want. That's what really we want. But tell me something, Dr. More, a student, okay, who is in 12th right now and is right now all gung-ho that I want to do psychology. Is having biology a very important aspect for a student? Like, it is mandatory that if you don't have biology, you would not understand the psychology
Nothing like that. See, if you study biology and then you understand psychology, then you'll be able to understand. There's a paper known as physiological psychology or biological psychology. So you will understand that much better. But there's no mandate like that you need to have biology, and if you study biology, then you'll understand psychology much better, because psychology is a vast field. So there's nothing like that. See, as I mentioned right now, that there is a field known as animal cognition. Now, animal cognition is not taught in masters, is not taught in UG. It's a different field, and in psychology there are different fields that are coming in, okay. So if you understand the foundation well, you will be able to understand any field of psychology much better. So there's nothing like a mandate that you need to have biology, or you need to understand. If you're good at biology, you'll be good at psychology. There's nothing like that.
Okay, so the students who are pursuing commerce or humanities, even for them, psychology is something which is definitely pursuable.
For sure.
Okay.
Yes.
So they can pursue, which is the outcome. Now, I want to understand, what are the biggest misconceptions students and parents have before choosing psychology? One which I did actually tell you right, before we kind of dived into the career option. But apart from that, have you, as a, academician, have you come across anything like that as a misconception?
Okay, a lot of parents and students think that after finishing their UG, especially after finishing their UG, they can start their practice.
Oh, that's not the case?
That's not the case. That's not the case.
Okay.
Practicing psychologist, the first thing is that you should have your master's degree. If you're doing without that, or you are associated with any organization, they'll pay you some money and they'll, gain your resources, but it's actually not allowed. To be a clinical psychologist, mandatorily you need to have licensing. That's been given by the Rehabilitation Council of
India. Which is RCI.
RCI, yes.
So you get your RCI license only once you complete your master's.
Yes. Okay. Now, there's a mental health act that has come in, which have made some modifications. So you do your MPsych in clinical psychology and you get your licensing. But you need to do that relevant degree. A lot of students are just finishing their UG, and I see a lot of posts on Instagram and other platforms that I'm a psychologist, I'm a mental health professional, come and talk to me. They think that I'll have my setup and the fancy thing, and then people will come and talk to me, I'll solve their problems. That's not going to help you, because you have not understood the subject well. And the thing is, you might get patients, okay? You might be fancy and all, you might get patients, but there's something known as Iman.
Yeah, ethics.
Ethics. You are dealing with a human being who's coming to you with a lot of hopes.
Yeah.
And that person comes to you thinking that after going to this person, a lot of my things will be solved. And because you don't have that much enough of experience and practice and knowledge Okay, UG doesn't offer you that much of knowledge. You need to have your PG because PG shapes you better. PG you do when you're 20 years old. Like 20, 21. Your cortex are developed that much to understand things more maturedly. Okay, that's why higher educations are important. So having combining all those things, you need to have your PG, you need to understand, you need to practice, you need to intern, and then you can have your individual practice, because you are dealing with somebody who's coming with a lot of hopes. And what happens, they take the patients for 2-3 sessions, they'll have them, and then suddenly the patient would disappear, because the patient will find that I have not got anything that will help me, and I'm still stuck in the same thing. So it comes with a lot of practice. That's why we are known as practicing psychologists. We need to, even later also, we need to have our education, we need to have our upgradation of current knowledge. What I have studied 10 years before
is not relevant
right now. Right now, a lot of AI has captured. So I need to understand AI, so that after understanding the AI, I'll know that how this current generation is working, and then I can work with current generation.
So it's basically, if you do psychology, you are a student for life.
For life.
And you need to be prepared for it.
Yes.
Very interesting. So we know right now that if psychology is the right career choice for parents who are thinking about the students, the students thinking about psychology, what kind of students are right for psychology, and what it is apt for. Now, let's look at the undergraduate studies, which we are talking about right now, where you mentioned about that after graduation, students are not ideally supposed to practice. It's not really allowed. Okay. Now, what I want to understand is, there is this particular degree what students get, BA or BSc. Okay. What do students actually study when they are doing a BA psychology and when they are doing a BSc psychology? What is this difference? And I would come to the next part of the question, but my next part I'll let you know before I forget. Firstly, what is the difference between BA and BSc, and how exactly it matters? That's my next part of the question, but let's first understand what is the difference.
So to answer this question, I'll go in past.
Okay.
Earlier, there was this thing, a myth or a mentality, that psychology comes in arts. And earlier, there were only 3 disciplines.
But that's exactly what I was told. Psychology is arts.
I'll tell you the difference. So psychology, again, as I mentioned, to deal in psychology, you need to have a very artistic approach. Okay. Now, all this was just misunderstood back then. Okay. Who misunderstood, I don't know. Okay. But somebody in that system misunderstood, and that thing he or she just implied, and everybody got into that mindset. So to understand psychology, you need to have a great artistic approach. Okay. And when we say about artistic approach, it's not about painting, it's about actually imagining, it's about approaching, it's about having a creative angle to it, it's about thinking out of box, it's about bringing something new on the table. So that's an artistic approach. But when we talk about like earlier back then, it was कि किसी की शादी करानी है, लड़की की शादी करानी है, साइकोलॉजी करा दो उसको.
Oh yeah.
है ना?
Yeah, earlier back then, I mean, we are talking about millennials just before the Gen Zs kind of hold us against it.
ये पढ़ाई में अच्छा नहीं, इसको आर्ट्स में डाल दो,
Correct.
ह्यूमैनिटीज में डाल
Correct.
दो.
That's exactly the benchmark worked earlier.
बट एक्चुअल में कोई ने, मतलब किसी ने ये डिकोड नहीं किया कि पढ़ाई में अच्छा नहीं, मतलब शायद उसका दिमाग कोई और चीज में अच्छा है. या तो वो काफी आर्टिस्टिक हो सकता है. ठीक है. तो वो पार्ट किसी ने नहीं देखा. Like a lot of artists, like, who are good in music and all, they do their studies in arts. Okay. So that they don't see. But in fact, artists earn more than what people earn in the field of science. Okay. So this is a different thing. But पहले ये सोच थी. ठीक है. But when they used to study psychology, okay, and the psychology में research हुए, तो पता चला कि psychology is actually coming from the biggest thing known as brain.
That is science.
That is science, okay. So that's how people started understanding it more, and then psychology got a recognition in field of science. That you as a biologist, is also studying brain. Me as a psychologist is also studying brain. Then how come we are different?
And that's
Then we
how
are
the
cousins.
BSc, okay. And how come, and that's how the BSc degree came into picture.
That's how BSc degree came in. Now, in today's era, there is, when we study BA in psychology or BSc in psychology, there is no much of a difference. The curriculum, okay, I'll be fair and honest, the curriculum is more or less the same. In BSc, maybe there are 2-3 extra subjects on physiological psychology or biological psychology. But I have seen a lot of curriculums of different colleges where they also offer the same thing. बट इट्स लाइक मेरे बेटे ने BSc किया है और मेरे बेटे ने BA किया है. So it's about the people accepting.
So basically, we are trying to say that a BSc degree in an Indian mentality is always looked as the more intellectual degree.
Correct.
And because we are programmed, okay, that way, that art is always,
Our biases are like
our
that.
biases, I think that's the word, our biases are there. So we look at BA as a degree which is not too effective, okay, a second to a BSc. So my next question is, if both the studies are similar, is it having a similar kind of acceptance as well?
Acceptance in terms of higher education, in terms of other universities, yes. But then, you know, again, with that mentality and programming and biases, it's like BSc psychology, MSc psychology. So it gives you a better recognition. But then again, both of them will end up doing PhD at the same college, at the same university. Okay. So, as in, if you want to get your doctorate degree in that particular field of psychology, you need to do a PhD, okay? So, both of them, irrespective they have done BA or BSc, they will be getting the doctorate degree.
But one question I have right now here, if they both are almost similar degrees, see, when there are two students who are possibly studying a similar kind of, you know, subject, but from two different disciplines, towards the doctorate, is there is some kind of a benefit which a BSc psychology student gets where the sinking in towards the doctorate or the master's is smooth?
Now, again, you just mentioned two different disciplines. Discipline is the same. Both is psychology.
Okay.
It's just the nomenclature different.
Okay, just because of the nomenclature. Otherwise, we are looking at a similar degree for both. Students are ideally learning the same thing.
And then comes the mentality of the parents that BA तो you know हमारे time पे था, मेरी बेटी BSc कर रही है, ठीक है? But curriculum देखो ना, I तो tell parents, you know, sit with the curriculum, see the curriculum. The most important thing for you to do is curriculum. You go to any college, if the curriculum is helping your student to, your child, sorry, to understand psychology, then go for that college. Where the curriculum looks a little better. And thankfully, we are in the AI age, you know, AI will give you all the information. Take the use of that AI, take the use of that tool, and then compare the syllabus. But it's actually, there is no difference because the discipline is the same. In colleges, it can happen that, you know, as hota nahi hai. You know, when you do your PhD, you need to propose, you need to put your proposal. The student who puts the best proposal is selected. It's not about, you know, who is from the BA background or BSc background. They all have to, you know, finish their net. You have to clear their net. Sorry. You have to clear their net. So, a net could be done by anybody for irrespective of BA or BSc. They have to go through entrance. So, that is not the criteria. So, curriculum is the most important thing parents should be
looking at. Wow, the conversations are getting very interesting here. But there's one thing, Dr. More, which I wanted to kind of ask you. Okay, see, when students are studying commerce or be it any kind of program, okay, I think very relevant here would be students are doing, you know, let's say management, BBA, BMS, BFM, BBI, IPM, whatever, because this is something the most relevant one. Even for doctors, for that matters, or for the engineers, there is always an element of practical exposure. Okay, which is a very important element. Otherwise, you are not really aware of what you are doing in the correct manner. And this is something which is very much there in the management degrees, or be it, you know, the medical, or be a STEM. Now, when we look at psychology as a field, okay, how important for a student who is looking forward for a psychology degree to look at the practical exposure, the project works, the internships during the graduation period?
Yes, yes. It's again highly important, very important, because as I mentioned, we are dealing with human beings. Students who will study psychology in future, they will deal with human beings. So it is not possible for them to have just a minimal level of exposure. They should have vast exposure. Like when I was designing the syllabus of BSc Applied Psychology, it is still there. Every summer break, they get a break, but in their break, they have to do internship. They have to have some project work where they go meet people, they see things, they understand things, they go to some organization, be it any organization, they understand the culture. So it is very important for them to have field exposure, because that field exposure helps them to understand their subject and also their capacity of tolerating such things. We have heard cases about toxic work culture.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you are in that work culture where toxicity is there, only then you will understand what is toxicity and how are you capable enough to deal with that work culture. Some people survive in that work culture for ages and ages.
Yeah.
And we are like, Arey, how come this person is so calm? Because they train themselves, they adapt themselves to be in that. But if you'll not even know what is toxicity, you'll not even know that thing, then how are you going to survive with that kind of an atmosphere? So it is very mandatory for students to do their practicals. It is very mandatory for students to have good level of field work, and not only in one setting. When we talk about psychology, parents have a misconception, students, they have a misconception that they need to go and work in hospital settings. Yes, they need to do it, but psychology is not only about hospital settings, it's also about other settings. Go and work with a doctor, go with any engineer, go and work with fishermen. There is a field known as uh, uh, marine psychology.
Okay.
People who are there on ships for 6 months. You think their lives are easy? No, they need a psychologist there. Dealing with sea, dealing with those ups and downs, away from land, there's a different climatic change there, and then surviving and functioning. You have limited resources, your resources comes once in a week, and then you survive on that. Of course, they are paid very much, but the lifestyle that they adopt for 6 months, once they are back on the shore, they are back on the land, they go through a counseling process. Aviation psychology, we talk about pilots there, we talk about the stewards there.
So, if I understand correctly, you are saying that any student who is actually looking at,
Yes.
doing speciality will have to go through this exposure or experiential learning of that particular field.
Yes, to have a good detailed understanding about it.
Okay.
I have a lot of students who come and tell me, ma'am, I have done 6 weeks internship, and I am very happy. If it's 6 weeks internship is nothing. You need to have good amount of internship. Have internships, go to different schools, colleges, different institutes, organization. Take understanding of different fields. Then you will know that where exactly I want to be. Just don't make a tick mark that internship is compulsory from our college, so I have just done it. It doesn't work like that. But to answer your question, it is very important for any psychology program, be it BSc, MSc, BA, MA, or any university, they must have good exposures. They must offer students to go to different places and have their exposures and experiential learning. Also, they must provide those facilities. They must give good amount of practical knowledge, and practical also is an art. You don't teach them, you put them in that situation and then you teach them. It's the reverse. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think we understood about the undergraduate studies here. Now, my next, section which I want to talk about is how to choose a right college, or possibly choosing the right college based on the student.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what factors, according to you, should a student consider or a parent consider while choosing the psychology college for themselves or a parent looking out for their kid?
Yeah. First and the foremost thing is curriculum.
Okay.
Parents should understand what curriculum is. As I mentioned, take help of ChatGPT. Take help of any AI app or equipment. Go through the curriculum rigorously. Okay. As a parent, you might not also understand, but you can take help and you can understand what is the difference between different curriculums. First thing, is the college offering good amount of internship and exposure and practicals? Second thing, is the college having good psychological lab?
Okay.
Yeah, because we have psychological labs where experiments takes place.
Keen out of curiosity, what experiment are we looking at?
So these are human-based experiments. But
Are you talking
not-
about social experiments which we normally see on social media?
No.
Okay.
These are actually some paper pencil test, some memory experiments. We understand, like, I will try to check your memory. There is something known as digit forward and backward. So till what numbers you can remember, till what digits you can remember, forward and backward as well. I will understand your learning pattern. I will understand your hand-eye coordination. So there are these experiments which are being taught to students. Illusions, what are illusions like? So there are these smaller experiments. I don't know why I'm saying experiences, but there are these smaller experiments which students learn. So it is very important for parents to see that if the college got good psychology lab.
Okay.
Yeah. And what are they offering in that? What sort of test material they have? Which good colleges, good institutes, they have good labs. And I'm not talking about lab, which means it has to be painted and fancy and all. The lab should have good test material in that. That is something that the parents should actually look into. A lot of parents, they don't know. They'll go through curriculum. Curriculum tak sabko pata hai कि it's very important. But lab होना चाहिए, नहीं होना चाहिए, और lab के अंदर क्या होना चाहिए, ये parents को नहीं पता. So I think parents should look into that as well. Yeah.
Tell me something. In India, you have earlier mentioned a lot about the colleges.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have to rate the top colleges of India in psychology for undergraduate, what would you ideally, not in the ranking, but just randomly, if you can tell us, in terms of what would be a good college to go for?
I'll just tell you, the good college is the college where you have good faculties. And please note, faculties doesn't mean that it has to be experienced faculty. Okay? In my this thing, from the place where I'm coming from, and my experience says that young faculties are more enthusiastic and more open to understanding psychology and teach psychology than the experienced ones. So suppose if there is a college A, and that A college has all the faculties who are like 50 plus, and there is a B college where there is a range of faculties, that somebody is in her 20s, a young faculty. Then some faculties are in their there's a range like 30s to 40s, so their experience is like from 7 to 8 years. Then we have faculties from 8 to 10 years, and then we have faculties from 10 to 20 years. That will make the college the best environment for student to learn, because here a lot of range of teachers are coming in. So those teachers helps to shape you in a lot of different ways, because somebody who's the most experienced is also dealing with the student, so that the student gets an experience wala point of view, and somebody who's just started their journey in the psychology area as a teacher, as a faculty, will also be able to share their experiences with the student. So the student is getting the knowledge in abundance, is getting to know the experience in abundance. Whereas college A, where all the faculties are 50 plus, okay, they will have that experience which is great for the student to understand. But there will be a gap. There will be a generational teaching gap. faculty is understanding the gap, we will not be able to understand that gap that well, and there will be a big amount of, like the student teacher bond will not be that great. So I would tell the parents that always go for those universities where you'll find young से लेके experienced teachers. A lot of parents say कि अरे ये इसमें तो काफी young faculties है. It's actually a plus point that you don't understand, because those faculties will understand your child much better, and those faculties will give their 100% to teach your child. So that's something that I think parents should understand. It's a trick for parents, okay? So I have heard a lot of parents coming in, a young faculty, a young faculty, तो क्या? That faculty is coming with degrees. Tomorrow your student will also start as young person, and that young person will be of more enthusiasm than somebody who's like, in 50s or something like that. And I don't say that people who are experienced, are bad or something, but understand the gap that has been created. So that is something the parents should understand it with the pinch of maturity.
Amazing. I think I got a very good perspective from you, Dr. More, but considering the fact that we have so much, I mean, I was not expecting psychology to be so huge, and to make sure that we give this particular information to the parents and the students, we would make sure that this is something which is going in parts. And I think we would end this particular episode, okay, we would end it here, but we would connect again.
Yes.
Okay, so all the students and parents who have reached up till here, bravo, you have actually gained a lot of knowledge just like me about psychology. I understand that, this is something which would be too much in detail. Okay, but trust me, if you are looking at pursuing something, it is better to know it in detail rather than regretting it later. So we will be coming up with another episode where we would be talking about the career opportunities. We will be talking about the fields, the careers, the field, specific field. We would be talking about the higher education. We will be talking about more in detail about RCI and a lot of further questions which you would be putting it in the comment section. So we will be addressing that in the episode. So make sure you follow our YouTube channel. And till then, all the best and keep watching.